Back in the day, video games were known for their simplicity, specifically indie games that told a story. Most video games these days try to follow a narrative of some sort. Others focus on player competitive functions to excel other players, and some are gaming icons dating back to the first video games on much older consoles such as the SNES, Genesis, Atari, and many others. All types of video games come in many shapes and sizes, with their own stylized genre, but one genre of video games tends to be a fascination to some. I'm mainly referring to the genre known as walking simulator games, and the impact they have on the gaming industry. The history behind the genre walking simulators is relatively modern, but the driving force behind this genre goes into the early history of games. The games are less concerned about what physically happens in the space and more what happens in the mind of the player or the explorer. The motivation is less extrinsic and more intrinsic. The genre is filled with many popular titles such as Dear Esther, The Stanley Parable, What Remains of Edith Finch, Firewatch, and many others. But one game tends to stand out more than the rest, and that game is Gone Home. Released back in 2013, Gone Home is a classic of the walking sim genre and has also been the center, or at least part of, a number of debates between what the game is even about and is it even a game to begin with. From my own experience playing the game, I can personally tell you there is a love-hate relationship with it from both a narrative standpoint and a visual one. Despite telling a unique story, Gone Home subverts your expectations in almost every way. First off, the story is not about the main playable character. You play as Caitlin Greenbrier, newly returned from a year abroad, but the story isn't about you. Your younger sister Sam is the star of the story, with the mom and dad as secondary characters. Your year in Europe doesn't matter at all. All we learn about you is through a handful of postcards scattered across the house. The main objective is to search the house for clues relating to the vacantness of the home, specifically finding out what happened to our sister Sam. In regards to the gameplay, the game looks and feels like a horror game, but according to Steam, it's anything but. With this in mind, I figured I'd tell you the pros and cons of Gone Home. What I liked about this game was the aesthetics and the attention to detail. I was enamored with the 1990s vibe this game had. Despite not living in the 90s, playing this game felt like I understood what life was like back then, with all the pop culture references and various items that scream 90s nostalgia scattered all around the house. The con of the game is how the narrative is structured. The narrative of the game is centered around you finding your sister's journal entries that are scattered around the house. What's strange is that they aren't actual pages in a journal, rather random items you find that trigger a past tense audio recording from Sam talking about her past experiences living in the home. This mechanic is frustrating to many because the game is forcing you to find these pieces in no particular order, which can cause confusion or may spoil events if not collected in the correct order. On top of that, you also have to find keys or specific passageways in order to find these journals, making the navigation in the house exhausting. I could go on talking about this game, but I will emphasize what this game is all about. People who play this game say it's more of an interactive novel, a book page showing you the story than an actual video game. So for some, this may not be your cup of tea. But if you're like me, then you'll probably like to take your time with the game's narrative, by exploring the world, solving puzzles, or finding small details in games that make you appreciate the craftsmanship that goes into making them in the first place. Overall, if you do end up playing Gone Home, I'll say this: test your patience, because if you won't, the game will do it for you. I give Gone Home a rating of 7 out of 10.